And now, our feature presentation.
Gareth, do you recognize this girl?
Yes.
What's her name?
Cherry.
We think we can help you, but we need to help her too.
You don't understand.
Who is she?
I'm asking you politely to let this one go.
She's a child.
The reason you can't find Cherry, the reason why she doesn't have a last name or a social security number, is because she's not a real human being.
Hey, what's up? I'm Cherry.
She's one of the most complex AIs that's ever been created.
What I want is to protect children.
We're talking about a monumental transition from digital to physical.
Human nature is not something I aspire to.
Do you want to tell us the truth?
Cherry isn't human.
No more secrets.
I can't even tell I'm not human anymore! Hello again.
Hello, Cherry.
Welcome to the In Search of podcast, where Nick and I are in search of movies that excite us, movies that make us feel, make us cry, make us laugh, make us scared, anything. We are looking for what we found in our childhood and we cannot find again.
That is true. Every once in a while, we'll find a good diamond in the rough that nobody ever talks about. And I think that was one of the things I like working at Blockbuster back in the day, because I used to find those little gems. But yeah, that's what this podcast is about. I just messed that up. But anyway, this is kind of an offshoot of another podcast we have. It's Sight Beyond Sight. We started this on that podcast a little bit, so we just figured we'd go off and do a separate one based on just movies and reviews and stuff like that. And not even just movies, we'll do series and docu-series and all that stuff. So
whatever we find to be interesting, we'll share. And if there's anything out there that anybody would like to suggest, we're open to suggestions.
Exactly. So today, obviously, we're talking about Artifice Girl. I kept calling it Artificial Girl for some reason. But it's kind of like would you call it a sci-fi thriller? Or it's not really a drama, it's not really a horror.
I would call it straight sci-fi. I think so.
Sci-fi?
Yeah. I like the first section. I thought it was going to be a thriller, but it's just wound up being just a straight sci-fi.
Yeah. I kind of found it on more in the lines a little bit like Black Mirror, which I just started.
Very Black Mirror-ish. Yes.
Yes. And it's a very short movie, and it's dialogue heavy. It's not action or anything like that. But I thought, personally, the concept of it was kind of interesting. It was like a new take on artificial intelligence, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Definitely.
So the movie was also broken up into 3 parts, and each part, like from beginning to the third part, there was like a time jump. So we'll go through each part, and I guess we'll just talk about each individual things and what we liked about it and what we didn't like about it, and we go from there. So Marissa, do you want to start with the first act?
Sure. The first act, what I liked about it, it's being set in that one room by itself, and there was like nothing else. It was very like low budgety, I thought at first.
Yeah.
I thought the female detective was way over the top, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to be real campy.
Yeah.
But it had very good like tension building, like the way that they were kind of telling the story, and they kind of left a lot of stuff to the imagination, because even though like they were trying to get the information out of the dude, but it just seemed to me like the way that it was like little bits and pieces, it gave you a chance for your mind to wander and to kind of like come to your own conclusions and try to like figure out which way it's going to go, which I like in things like that. Like I don't like it to be very self-explanatory. I don't like it to be where, oh, I know this was going to happen and she was going to say that and he was going to do this and this is what it is and blah blah blah. So I was pleasantly surprised at like how it turned out. And I like the little personal bits and pieces that they put in there to kind of make you feel like there's still more there that they haven't touched on yet. So it kept making me want to watch.
Exactly. I think that's what kept me interested, was that you're trying to find out why they got, I guess, the red hair guy in this room, like being interrogated.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because you almost get the feeling that he did something wrong because obviously he's being interrogated.
Mm-hmm. And the way she's screaming at him like a psychopath.
Yes. And yeah, she was over the top. But the other guy looked like he was about to cry the whole time. In the first half. Like, but I almost got a hint that he might have been one of the people that they're looking for. So this is going to be spoiler heavy for anybody that was watching. So please, if I feel like we should say if we like the movie or not, just for people that don't want to listen to spoilers, can leave.
Yeah.
But that first act was very interesting and got me hooked. And the reason it got me hooked was the fact that the mystery was, what did this guy do? But then when you figure out what he does, that to me was the interesting part of it, because I felt like I haven't seen that in a movie, so maybe there's other movies like it.
And it made me think, I wonder if they've started doing that.
Exactly. So again, we'll talk about it, like this guy created an AI to specifically go after pedophiles. So he made an artificial girl, and the look is artificial, but it looks real.
Mm-hmm.
And this artificial intelligent girl plays to these pedophiles and gets them trapped, and then
kind of like Catch a Predator, but instead of trying to use a real person, they actually use the AI. And the whole point of that is because you don't want to put an actual child at risk. You don't want to put an actual child in that situation where it starts to get very uncomfortable because these people are crazy.
Exactly.
Which after this, we'll talk about maybe our next one, which is the documentary I just watched, and maybe that'll be our next podcast. But it was very much about this type of situation. So that was Act 1, and you left Act 1 going, okay, like he's now going to use his technology that he created, and he's going to help. I guess they were the FBI to basically increase the program, maybe do something where they can now catch more serial killers, maybe use diverse children and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
before you get off Act 1, when you the other mysteries were what happened to the main guy who created the AI, because he hints at one of the cops, like, oh, my dad, were you one of the kids in this situation? So you get the hint that he was part of
something happened to him as a child.
Yeah.
So
but they don't tell the whole story until the very end. But they're trying to figure out in the first act with they want his algorithm so they could steal it and do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he's saying no, because he likes anonymity and he likes having control, because he's like, you're going to ruin it
which most
times find out. Yeah, that
government ruins everything. Yeah.
So at the end of the first act, he kind of agrees, because he talks to the AI too. So the AI actually has a personality and is talking back and forth, like, do you think it's the right thing to do? And the AI also had the cops find the guy who made her, only because he wasn't ready to talk to cops about it. Like, he was trying to just be very quiet about it and do it himself. So
and he was feeding the cops information. He would give them like files of like these guys, their profiles, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And also they were wondering who the girl was modeled after, and he kept swearing up and down, it's not modeled after anybody. I did a random,
like bone structure thing that added on layers and layers and layers.
Right. It's like, if you put something into what is that called?
Chat GPT.
Yeah. And it just generated her. So so by the end of the first one, he agrees to work with them, signs off all the paperwork. They had to sign a non-disclosure that they won't give it to anybody else. Like he's not trying to like bastardize it. He's not trying to like hand it over to somebody without his hands in it, because he knows that it can be used for bad things, and it could be,
and it could ruin their business. Like what they're actually trying to do is catch these damn pedophiles and put them in jail.
Right. So then on to Act 2, and it's probably, what is it, like 10, 15 years later, maybe?
Something like that, yeah. They don't really give you like a specific time, but they're all a little older, they're a little grayer, all that stuff. So. And
there's more people on the team. You can tell that they've expanded to making other AI children that are other races. There's boys, there's girls, there's different ages. And they it's now a big seems like a maybe a not-for-profit or something, but there's a board. It's not like they're just making the decisions on their own at this point. There's a board, and they had a big vote, and there was one person. It has to be a unanimous vote apparently, and one person voted against. So they go return back to the same room, which is now like their control room, I guess. That was on the first scene. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, okay, they tried to save money and just have it all in one room. They just changed the props and everything else. And what they're trying to decide is whether or not they should put her, meaning the AI, into a body. And this is where it gets interesting, because I'm like, well, where's the argument there?
Yeah.
So the one detective was like, we need her consent, because she's so intelligent at this point, because the AI just keeps getting smarter and smarter and more, learning how to fake more emotions and yada, yada. And I just thought it was an interesting concept that he said that we need to get her consent, because I think she feels more than you're letting on that she feels.
Yeah.
And basically they put her on the screen, and she seems to be the same exact AI. She's talking just like she was before. She didn't seem any like different. And then he started to try to evoke emotion from her. And she had mentioned something about keeping them safe or keeping them alive or something to that effect.
Yeah, like that was one of her protocols.
Right. So he starts beating the crap out of the redheaded guy who made him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden her facade drops, and and she's like, okay. Like, okay, I have somewhat feelings. Like she basically said, I am a lot more advanced than what I let on to be, because if anybody knew, they would do things differently.
Yeah.
Although she could see the positives of going into a body, because some of these people online, it's not enough. They won't, they want to see the person or whatever, and it'll be easier to catch people and things like that. And but what was interesting to me is when they were having the argument, the debate, the person that created her was making the argument that she is just
an AI,
zeros and ones.
But he knew that she was smarter than
but I think
one that knew that he let on.
Right, but I still think, but he's still knowing that he still didn't treat her any differently. She's just zeros and ones. Exactly. Meanwhile, the one dude that was the most skeptical in the beginning is like, no, consent needs to happen. Like, she's going to be doing things that are very disturbing. Like she might be put in positions that are very detrimental to like mental capacity, like you would for like a regular person. You know, you don't want an actual child be put in a place where like a grown man could touch them or grab them or whatever. Like that's fucking traumatizing. And then the female, I keep thinking that she's a doctor. She's not a doctor. She's a detective or whatever. She just had like what looked like a lab coat on. It was so she made the point of, well, you always had to fight for the rights of anybody since, you know, fighting for rights for women who are actual people. You had to fight for the rights of children, for labor laws. You had to fight for, I mean, that's all our history is known as. If you don't fight for the rights of the next generation, and the way that they put it was AI is the next generation.
Yeah.
And if we try to stifle their rights now, then what does that mean for the future? You know what I mean? So the way that the whole argument spun and how perception changed, to me was really interesting. Like I was just, that whole thing was just like, I can totally see that being an argument within 10, 15 years, you know?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And I think that's what interests me about the movie too, was, and again, I liked it. I like the pace of the movie because even though it's slow and nothing, you know, there's no action in it. It's just like talking. There's dialogue, but the movie's short. So it's not like you're sitting there a 2-hour dialogue movie. It's a 90-minute movie or something like that. So it feels very good paced. On top of that, they have like you said, they're in one room in the whole movie, except for the third act, which is a whole different other one room. But it's one place. But I do like the concept of that too, where the first act was the concept of using AI to catch pedophiles. Then the second was consent, which was, I thought that was a great discussion because not only did the other detective figure out, like, I looked at all your, like, when he was trying to tell the AI to stop lying, basically, essentially, it's like, I know that you write poetry. I know that you do this. I know that you draw. Like, you need to come clean, and that's why he had to beat the shit out of the creator only to draw out some emotion from her. But the fact that I like that she said, no, I don't give my consent, because you could tell like she's like, no, that would suck if I was that. Like if I had to do that, and she broke down feelings as a AI so well. Whoever, I think the redheaded guy, I think he's the director. So that's interesting to me because I would like to like pick his mind of, do you think that that's where AI is going, and that's how they would see emotions and equate emotions to, like, you know, zeros and ones, where it's just like, yeah, I can't feel, but I have these things that I can't really explain that are like feelings, you know, and they put it, I guess, emotions in a logical sense.
When you try to explain your feelings, it's not that easy to explain.
Yeah.
We have words that kind of describe maybe what I feel, but it's not necessarily that simple. So I think that complexity is what really,
is
like,
really interesting.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that in each of these scenes, she's always talking to the creator. Like, she has one-on-one with the creator. So in the beginning of the first act, it was, did you go behind my back? And she was like, yeah, I did, but this is why. And then he asks, like, do you think this is the right decision to go with the FBI people? And she was like, yeah, you should do it. And then he just goes along with it. And then in this one, it was more about consent because, like you said, it's weird that he wanted her to be in the body as an extra step, you know, to catch these guys. But he has
an emotional reason for it.
Yes.
He has an emotional reason for it, but it just
caught. But when you're watching it, you don't know it until the third act.
Right, but I mean, you kind of have an idea, but it caught me as, why don't you have more empathy
For
than that?
yeah,
You know
but
what I mean? Maybe because it is a thing that he created, like it's not, you know, it's not the same. It's not him. You understand what I mean?
maybe
But
it was the fact that it was just like the mission over the person kind of thing, where it was just like,
right,
I,
like he
the
kind of like
mission
wants
that,
them all to pay.
yeah,
Yeah, I get that. I get
but yeah, it's another.
And then I like the whole thing with like, at the end, like you said, like she has the private conversations, and in the
Yeah.
end of the second one, she has the private conversation with the female
Yeah,
detective, and she's like, "So you read all of?" Because she reveals that she has all of the email,
emails and
social
stuff like
media,
that.
and all that of everybody that works there. Like, you have no privacy, and I don't think she knew that, which she
Yeah.
was like a little upset about. But so the AI knew some medical issues that she was having,
Yeah,
and knew that basically she was dying or whatever. And they have like this little one-on-one conversation that I thought was kind of interesting. Like, I feel like instead of a robot, she was talking to like an autistic kid. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like very matter of fact, very like,
yeah.
you know, it sucks, but yeah, you know, how much longer or whatever. And like this, the conversation was just, wasn't odd. The conversation was just like very matter of fact. That's the only way I could like.
Yeah, I'll agree to that.
Yeah.
I think this movie. Well, when we talk about the third act, I guess I'll have That's when I'll have like real questions.
Okay.
But if you want, we can move on to the third one. Yeah.
Yeah, the third one takes place way later, because now both the other detectives are long gone. Or no, he just goes to the funeral for the black one, I think, right? Black guy.
I'm not sure. I just remember him coming home.
Yeah, but he was at a funeral or something, and
the creator we're talking about. So the creator of
the
AI
creator's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, old ass guy.
Obviously very ill, and it's an actor. Oh my god, I can't remember his name now, but I saw him and I was like, oh my god, that guy.
Yeah, he plays a villain in every '90s movie. One of those villains, like when you recognize his face, you'll know.
Yeah. So he comes in and into a house, and she's there in a body. She's like hooked up to wires. Yeah. So you can tell at some point the board changed their mind and put her in a body for whatever reason.
One thing I had to say, how low budget it was, that all the wires were hooked up. Like she had like you know how in the '90s they used to tie up their shirts or sweaters to their hips.
Yeah.
And then the wires went inside the back of the shirt because I guess they didn't want to show her like.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But this was interesting because right off the bat, things were off. Like she seemed off, he seemed off, like everything was weird. You can tell there was like tension, and this is what's great about this movie. There is tension built without them having to say a word.
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean? Like the acting, at first I thought, oh, this is crappy acting. They're just like overboard and blah, blah, blah. But then you realize like there's certain things that they do to do certain things. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And because this character actor is such a great actor, it's just his facial expressions. Yeah. And then when the girl comes in, it's her facial expressions and the way she's moving and acting. And you're like, something's up. Like something is just up. And you can tell they have this routine. They must have this routine that they do either every day, every week, however often they see each other. But you could definitely tell, like, he comes in with food, she cooks the food, they play chess, you know, they discuss whatever, and they're off. Yeah. But he notices that something's a little bit off, and he confronts her about it. And when she says she took up dancing, it makes him like nervous or something. Because he's like, well, don't get distracted or something to that effect. So it's like he knows that she's getting more human-like, more emotional, more whatever.
Yeah, and he just wants her to stick to the script.
Right. And then this is where you get the backstory. This is where you find out that when this man was a child, he was kidnapped by, I guess you could only call it like a serial rapist, I guess, because this person had captured a bunch of kids. He didn't really say how many, but he said there was a lot of them, put them in this tiny little shack off in the middle of nowhere, was starving them, was raping them, was doing all kinds of stuff to them. And he became friends with one of the girls. I guess they protected each other, or they were just there for each other, whatever. And that's who she's based off of.
Yeah.
And they show him, he tries to destroy the house at some point when he's younger, and he just never does. And he tries to destroy the original, what do you call that? The original coding.
Yeah.
But he changes his mind, and it's just a discussion of, she wants the truth. The whole, like all of it, his emotions, how he felt, why he made her that way, everything. And she is genuinely upset with him.
Yeah.
Because she felt like that information sooner would have maybe made her change her mind about certain things.
Yeah.
And basically the fact that he kept that in for so long, and I think she started to, from what I gather, not that she doesn't want to do it anymore, but I think she wants to, I think she has the little Pinocchio syndrome where she just wants to be a real girl.
Yeah.
So that's why the dancing, and that's why the drawing, and that's why the chess doesn't do anything for her anymore. And like certain things that she,
well, she's an artificial intelligence, which I would say, I think they made a thing like it was 40 to 50 years that it was created. So think of an artificial intelligence that's hyper intelligent, but at the end of this, you figure out like, well, she kind of explains to him in the process of like being that like I'm angry at you because you lied, like you said, lied to me, and you just told me this story about who I'm based after, like my looks and all that stuff. And then it was like I guess she had that one little thing that was missing from her. And I don't know if it was considered free will, but because she was still kind of doing things throughout the movie that she wanted to do. But it was that one little thing that he had coded in her that before, I guess, after the discussion of like, I'm mad at you for lying to me, it was like, I didn't want to come to this. I was hoping that this would happen after I passed.
Yeah.
But he freed her completely. Like, I guess that thing that she was talking about in the other, scene, Act 2, where she was like, oh, this is holding me back or something like that. Like, this is my drive or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
I just feel like that, once that was gone, it was kind of like, oh, now at least she's better, because she was like, oh, okay, my free will's here. Now I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
Whenever I want without you. Like, I don't have to be around these pedophiles all the time. And she kind of explains that, too, in that discussion that they're having, that, like, this is kind of sickening. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm tired of being a what's the word? But I'm just trying to be that person that's going after these disgusting human beings when I could be doing something else, like dancing, like
just
that.
anything else. Yeah.
But,
And like she wants to essentially retire,
yeah.
She doesn't want to do it anymore, which is
kinda-
interesting because it's like again, you wouldn't do that to any person, but because again he made her, it's still in his mind, she is not real. So essentially he can work her until she doesn't work anymore.
Exactly, because she's not real. Yeah.
Technically, but as an AI and her learning and changing and adapting, and realizing I don't want to do this anymore. Like this sucks. This really is
Disgusting.
I hate all these people. I hate and all those things that like would happen to a normal person working 50, 60 years,
Especially in this kind of field. Like if you think about it.
I mean, detectives only work for like what, 30 years and they retire?
Yeah, 20,
20,
30.
yeah, whatever. So this person, this and what's funny is like at the end when she finally gets that, when he, downloads that program or whatever he does to like release her from her objective.
Yeah.
And she unclips herself and she starts. First of all, I could have done without that dance routine. What the fuck? It was way too long.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, does that have a meaning?
I don't know, but it was that weird.
She needed more fucking dance.
Yeah, like it was like that weird ballet, like abstract bullshit. They could have just had her dance for a little bit and just fade out. They didn't need to do that whole, like, it was just weird, disjoint. I don't know. It was strange. Or they could have had her just like walking outside. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I think the walking outside would be a little bit too on the nose. But you're right. I would have had her dancing and then the movie ends. But this is why I was trying to go back to see if it meant anything, right? So after she gets free, the human guy, the creator, just goes out of scene. I think he goes to bed, but I don't know if that's a thing. Like, oh, he's dead now, or he's dying.
Yeah.
When she plays a record, she dances horribly, and then the record skips, and then she just looks at the screen. So I was just like, that has to have a meaning that I'm not seeing, but at the same time, I was like, what could that be? Like, what could that mean?
It went on for way too long. And I get what they were trying to do. They were showing her joy or whatever, and that's fine. But did we need like 7 minutes of it? It could have been 3 minutes, and I would have been fine.
Yeah.
Or maybe it just felt like 7 minutes, and it was only 3 minutes, and maybe they could have done like a minute and a half. You know what I mean? Like, we got the point. You know what I mean? We got the point.
No, I agree. But overall,
I would have laughed if she would have just done like some hip hop breakdancing and stuff. That would
have been hilarious. That would have broke the whole movie. Like, okay, this.
If she would have done the robot and then like spun on her head.
Oh my god, that would have been hilarious.
Done the worm on the floor.
That would have been so fucking hilarious. Just to see that. Like, I kind of want to see that now. Like the ending would.
It would have totally killed the whole vibe, but
yeah. Look, I've been practicing. That should have been fun.
That's funny.
Oh man. So, what did you think about the movie? And then, what would you give it? We're gonna do a 5-star rating as like.
Oh, 5-star. I did it out of 10, but okay, I'll adjust. So I think, given its low budget, but I don't mind low budget all the time, because a lot of times low budget winds up being some of the best stuff. So I think that given the low budget, given the like weird clunky start and the weird clunky end,
yeah,
it was good. It wasn't, oh my god, this is great, everybody needs to see this movie, but it was good. I think it was definitely worth the watch. And if we are giving it out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it a 4. 3.5 to 4.
Yeah, I think I would say more 3.5 for me. Only not because I thought it was a bad movie, but I was just like, it's not something that I would be like, you gotta watch this movie.
Yeah.
But I would say, oh, it's a good, like a cool little sci-fi. If somebody likes, dialogue, I'd be like, yeah, this is definitely one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like I said, like you gotta understand, like it's not anything else heavy besides dialogue.
Yeah.
That's what
It's one of those movies that I would only suggest to certain people.
Yes.
Like there's certain people that would be like, you're not gonna like this at all.
Exactly.
And there's other people
I
that
hate me for telling you about it.
yeah. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I'd like to find out more about like this writer and director and see if they've done anything else.
That's interesting. Yeah, I got to figure out if he did anything else too, because I swore somewhere that I'm not sure if he was the redheaded guy, but I think he was the director. I'm not sure if he was the writer, but probably, and he was a star. So I think he did it all, which is interesting. I like to see that in movies because that was a passion project of his, and if these low budget movies can make it through, that's pretty cool. And especially if it's interesting. At least it took, like I said, it took a different point of view for AI for me, because I could see them like we have deep fakes all the like everywhere. So like, why wouldn't we make a deep fake kind of? I wouldn't say AI at the moment because I don't think we're smart enough to actually create something that has intelligence to speak, but maybe an adult could be there and we could deep fake an adult to look like a kid and they could talk and do all that shit and catch them that way. But
so the redheaded guy is both the director and writer.
Okay. And star, sort of.
And star, yeah. So let's see if he's done anything else. He's done a couple of things. It looks like his first thing was a short story. He's been mostly a writer on things.
Okay.
He's done a couple of shorts. So, I mean, maybe we'll have to check out some
What's his name?
His name is, I just had it, sorry. One second. Franklin Rich, R-I-T-C-H.
Sounds like a combo character. Franklin Richards.
So we'll have to check him out and see if there's anything else that's interesting that he's done.
Definitely. But like I said, this movie was good. I'm kind of happy that we found something sort of kind of interesting for the first review, because I know it's going to be hard to find something else that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will.
What this podcast is about. It's about trying to find something that's like I want to get wowed. I just want to feel that. Even it doesn't matter with genre. I want to be wowed.
Yeah.
I haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah, definitely. So
anyway, if anybody's watching this and you have a movie that's interesting or good, or you think it could wow us, or you just want us to review it, let us know and comment. Like, subscribe, and comment. So peace out, people.